Alright guys, so in the last video I detailed how to do the stem wall foundation. Now we have all the framing up, so I want to show you the way this framing works. And this is the type of framing you would do for a straw clay infill building. So walking around here, you'll see we have these trusses. These are different from regular studs because you have the gap in the middle, and if you want to zoom in here, you'll see we have about 2 inches gap in the middle for these trusses. These are called Larson trusses, and they can be built to whatever width you want the walls to be. In this case we have a 9 1/4 inch wide wall, so these are actually 2x10s. And the Larson trusses are good because instead of the straw clay infill just butting up right against a solid stud, it can actually go through the trusses, making it more of a monolithic structure. And to add to that, there's also rebar that goes horizontally through the walls. At every one of these cross pieces, you're going to have 2 horizontal rebars going through the wall. So these panels, if you want to call them that, cannot be pushed out. This is going to be a very solid structure in the end. It's already incredibly solid just with the framing alone, but the actual wall infills will be really strong once it's all put together. So you'll see here we have our window bucks, as they're usually called. These are just built to whatever dimensions your windows are going to be, just like any conventional framing. And let's walk on inside. You'll also notice that the sill plates we put on with the J-bolts. So these J-bolts go into the stem wall, into the concrete. So this framing is attached solidly to the foundation. So if there's ever any wind or uplift, it's not going to be pulled off because it's solidly attached to that stem wall. So again, the doors are framed the same way you would frame any conventional door framing. The only major difference with the framing is we're using Larson trusses instead of solid studs. And you'll notice conventional houses are built only with a single 3.5 inch 2x4 thickness. So a conventional house is only as thick as a 2x4. So you can make these walls with straw clay pretty much any width you want. The 9 1/4 inch width is probably going to come out somewhere to an insulation R value of around 12. So you get a nice insulation in your walls. Now the way you install the straw clay is actually really easy. So once you have all the framing up, all you got to do is take some OSB or plywood. You're going to attach it to your framing, just drill it in, put it on the inside and the outside of your wall, and that creates this cavity or this box. So all you got to do at that point is put your straw clay material inside and compact it. So it's a lot easier than doing rammed earth formwork, because that rammed earth formwork has to be really strong. As compared to this, there's just not nearly as much outward pressure on the forms, so you can just screw it right into your trusses and you can pack that stuff in there real good, and you don't have to worry about your forms bowing out or having any kind of form blowout. And if you do get any bowing, you can attach a 2x4 horizontally across it to keep it from blowing out. But in this case we have studs or trusses 16 inches on center, so there's plenty of room to screw it in, and that's probably not going to bow out at all. So that's the basic process here. So everything's very standard framing here again. It's just we have these Larson trusses instead of studs. And you'll notice at the top we also have a top plate. I've attached top plates only on the two short sides for now, but that holds all the framing tightly together, squared up. But these two I've left open at the top, so you could actually get up here later and compact your material from the top. But like a situation right here, you can't pack from the top, so you actually pack in from the sides. Put some form boards across here, pack it in downward, and then you're going to have to kind of pack horizontally or upwards, whatever works for those kind of situations. You'll also see one more point. These little cross pieces here are raised up an inch off the sill, and that's if you want to put any utilities like wiring. It can be attached here underneath the trusses. That's why that's lifted. I'm not putting any wiring in this building, but I just wanted to demonstrate that for you guys. Okay, so let's move on from this section, and we're going to start putting the straw clay into the walls.
Another batch? Oh, there we go. Yeah. That was but we got another big batch coming.
This is
here
one
we go.
section of the ball down.
This has a little more. I only haven't killed them because they're super fast and sneaky. Because I couldn't even shoot them
Goes like
so fast.
right in here.
The kids run out with like BB guns when they hear it happening. Like baseball bats and that's sweet. But I don't think we're gonna get them today. It's really funny and sweet. It's really helpful.
I shot one in the neck with an arrow.
It's super helpful. Yeah.
I got one in the neck.
We do have a little bow and arrow that like does have rubber tipped arrows. They would hurt, but I don't. Yes, it definitely hit it in the neck.
I hit it in the neck. That was my arrow.
Joy, I did not even see you there.
You have them for meat or
capturing
eggs?
the
Well,
moments
for eggs,
in
and then I
genuine.
I mean, it was for eggs and that.
Will I flip it? Yeah.
Yeah.
So does it need to be, even though it's up against the wet?
This is going to dry out.
Oh, it's because it's got a lot of circulation going through it. Right, as long as it dries out, then you're like putting in water.
Oh, okay. It's like a fun fuzzy ball for me. Like a cat toy.
Get your chest and see like a baby.
Or just like a weird thing. Bless you. The whole charm. This is like really brittle pasta,
sauce.
and we have to.
Sauce? Sometimes it's juice, sometimes it's sauce, sometimes it's a baby.
Yeah, it's always a baby. Sometimes it's a baby. Always spaghetti sauce.
Yeah, I'll talk to you when I'm outside of my area. Like, I'm thinking, yeah, anybody coming over in my
How hard? Hey guys, so jumping ahead here, I've got about 75% of the straw clay walls completed on the building now. The walls are drying really nice. These walls are, again, 9 1/4 inches wide. and they're going to provide probably about an R12 value for insulation, which is pretty good for this width of a wall. Some of the benefits of straw clay are high insulation value, and it's a very cheap material to make. It's just straw and muddy water basically. So I'm going to walk you around, show you what I've done here so far, and then I'm going to show you inside a little bit more of the process of how I'm compressing the straw clay into the wall forms. So the process of actually compressing the straw clay is really easy, very straightforward. You're going to take your mix, put it inside the cavity of your wall form, and you're just going to compress it. I like to use a 2x4 to start. You're going to compress it in there, and then I like to take a smaller piece of wood with a smaller end point and then really compress the edges, get all the edges around the form really tight with this. And you just keep moving the form boards up as you go. They call it slip form because you slip the forms up as you go. Now when you get very close to the top, it can be a little more challenging to compress it in. And obviously when you have the roof on, you can't compress vertically top down. So what you're going to do, it's not hard, you're going to build your forms up to about as high as you can get them to where you can still compress downward. So I would probably build the forms up to about here, and then this part would be covered, and then this would still be open. So then what I would do is put a small strip of wood along the top, so you have a little bit of an opening here, and then your gap up here which you want to fill. So you're basically going to be packing it in horizontally and almost vertically at an upward angle. So it kind of contains it within the forms here and here. It might be a little hard to visualize here, but it's really easy. Once you get to that point, just build your forms up as high as you can get them, and then add a little bit of a strip at the top so you have like a little slit of an opening, and then just compress in horizontally. Every time you reach the height of one of your cross braces for the trusses, you're going to want to place rebar horizontally through the wall at that point. So down here you can see, reach the height of the cross piece, built the straw clay up to that level, and then laid the rebar in horizontally in the truss gap there. So build it up to that level, lay the rebar, and then continue packing on top of that. So just a couple notes here at the end of this video. This whole building had a footprint of 120 square feet. The walls are 9¼ inches wide. The walls are, I believe, 8 feet in height, apart from the addition of the gable ends, which are higher. But I think the whole structure took about 35 to 36 bales of straw. So just to give you guys some perspective of how much straw you might need. Also, at the end, once you finish packing all the straw clay, you're going to have a few voids or gaps. Just fill in those gaps with either cob or more straw clay mix. If it's just a surface level void, it's easier just to pack some cob on there and fill that in. But that cob is not going to give you that insulation the same as the straw clay. So if it's a big gap, put some straw clay in there. If it's just a surface level gap, the cob is a lot easier to apply and just kind of smear in there, apart from the straw clay, which you'd have to pack in real nice. So just make sure you fill in all those gaps at the end. So I'm finally finishing off this video. It's now the middle of December. We've completely finished the straw clay walls. They're completely done on this 120 square foot tiny house. It took between October, November, and part of December to finish the straw clay walls section. We actually finished about half the straw clay walls in about 2 days when we had a group of 25 plus people. But then after that, it was just about 2 people working on the walls. So off and on, because of the rain and the cold, it's been a really slow process. But they're done. They're great. They turned out really well. And so this section of the building is done. And I'm going to move on to finish off the roof now. And then after that, I have to install the windows and the doors. And so this section of video is complete. I hope you guys learned something from this video. If you have questions, please leave them in the comment section below, and I'll try to answer your questions there. Straw clay is really awesome. Again, it's a very highly insulated material. This building is going to be really warm, really easy to heat. Just going to have a little wood burner stove inside. Won't take much to heat this. Straw clay is also really cheap to put up. Apart from the framing, all it is straw and muddy water, basically. So again, thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video.